Hi guys, and welcome to version 2 of Immersive HUD for Fallout 4, a mod that lets you show the HUD when you need and hide when you don't. When you first install the mod, nothing will have changed except you will have received a settings holotape in your inventory. If you load this holotape up, you will be able to activate Immersive HUD and the mod will start working with the default settings. As you can see, everything has disappeared. You can change the criteria by which these heads-up display elements appear and disappear at the same menu. So for example, I can set the compass to activate when I am sneaking. And now if I sneak, the compass appears. It will stay for approximately 2 seconds before fading, but it will appear immediately upon sneaking. That fade time can be changed. You could set the health to appear when the weapon is drawn, for example, or if the health is below a certain amount. So if you don't like the health showing when you've taken 2% radiation damage, perhaps you can drop it to 90, or if you're particularly tough, drop it down to say 50%. I don't want to know I'm damaged until I'm 50% health, or again with the weapon drawn. If I go out now, no health bar, but if I draw my weapon, health bar appears. Put the weapon away, a couple of seconds later, that element will disappear. Same thing for the action points activation, except you can get it to come on during combat, while sprinting, and if the action points go below a certain amount. Now in version 2, this is accurate whether you are in powered armor or not. If I set it to 60%, and then start sprinting around, my action points will not appear until I am at 60% action points. And then they will stay once again for 2 seconds after they pass back over 60. There they've appeared. If I stop, it'll go back up. Once it's spent 2 seconds or more over 60, it disappears. The time it takes for the compass, the health and the action points to disappear is controlled by the fade time, which I've defaulted to 2 seconds, but you can make it as much as 6 seconds, or you can tell it to instantaneously fade. This will mean that, for example, if I now sneak, I get the compass, but as soon as I stop sneaking, it disappears. This is only for the health, the activation points, and the compass. All other items are always on and off instantly, depending on the settings you use. You have full control over when the crosshair appears. For example, on toggle and third person aiming. This is because when people play in third person, obviously they don't have the option to look down the sights. So when they do need to aim, a dot crosshair is particularly useful. You could have the dot crosshair appear in third person whether you're aiming or not, as long as you don't have a weapon out. If you want the weapon crosshair to appear when in third person, again, you can do that. The hit marker is pretty much the same. Those are the little marks that appear around the crosshair when you shoot somebody. Now you can see I have the crosshair in third person, but if I go first person, the crosshair will disappear unless I decide to toggle it on or off. You can also tell Immersive HUD to control the heads-up display elements from power armor or to leave them always on. That is completely up to you, and this mod will integrate with my power armor heads-up display mod without any problem. So if you're using that, you will probably want this to be iHUD controlled. If you want it always on in power armor for some reason, and some people like that, you can do it. You also have other settings which will allow you to control whether or not you need to toggle active effects, flashlight, stealth, and so on. You'll be able to figure most of these out. One I will bring your attention to is the toggle items. You see this is set to on. The toggle items are items that appear in the aid section and can be hotkeyed to whatever you want. So for example, 7 for the compass I will choose, and then I can now toggle the compass on and off just by pressing the 7 key. Now some people don't want the toggle behavior or are on PC and are using the Fallout 4 hotkeys mod and can control this behavior via that mod, And if you don't want these items, you can now remove them with an option right at the bottom. There you go, they've been removed. Now, a lot of this functionality was there in version 1, and you might be wondering why this is an entirely new version, version 2, and the reason for that is I have completely rebuilt the mod from scratch using a much better way of doing things, something I learnt whilst making the Power Armor HUD mod. The mod now passes on the bulk of the work to the heads-up display itself, and takes away the strain from the HUD framework mod and the scripting engine with the game. So it really should be a lot more robust and efficient. But believe it or not, it is also a hell of a lot faster and more responsive. I can switch items on and off very, very quickly, and there's almost no delay. The same is true of things like sneaking to activate the compass. It happens pretty much immediately. This is because of the new way of doing things. Whereas before you might have noticed, say, a half a second delay before things came on. Obviously, if you set the fade time, there will still be a delay before things disappear, but that's something you actually want. There is one slight downside to doing this. I say it's a downside, it's something that you should know. If you play third person and you want the crosshair, the dot crosshair, to appear when aiming, I've now set it so that it really is fast. As soon as you've zoomed in, you will see this dot crosshair appear. And it now appears, if I turn the heads-up display on, it appears exactly at the moment it would have appeared when you aim. So you'll notice there's a brief delay as the cross zooms in. If I remove that, it now appears exactly when the dot crosshair would have appeared. This should make combat a lot easier for people using this mod in third person. There is one tiny, slight disadvantage. If you zoom and then sometime quite soon afterwards put your weapon away, occasionally the mod is a little confused and thinks you've aimed for a brief fraction of a second. I'm not always managing to get this. It only happens occasionally, but it does happen occasionally. Which is why I would generally suggest, if you play in third person and you want the dot crosshair to appear when aiming, or actually if you play in third person in general, don't link any other items to aiming. So for example, the compass. Because if you do, every now and again, when you put your weapon away, the compass will appear when you didn't want it. It is only for a fraction of a second. It's the smallest thing ever, and it's due to the way I've done the mod this time. It is a slight downside, but it's more than worth it just for the extra responsiveness. The fact that this crosshair appears so quickly. And it's making a complete liar of me now and not ever appearing, which is pretty damn typical. It may never appear. I only noticed it every now and again, but there was no way I could stop it. It's all about how responsive the game is at any one moment and how quickly it tells the heads-up display what's going on. It's just not going to do it. Tell you what, you might want to ignore this unless you see it happening on your own system, and if so, I am aware of it and there's nothing I can do. The only way for me to fix it would be to slow down the speed at which the crosshair appears, and I think that's too high a price to pay. As I mentioned, this mod works perfectly with my own Power Armor heads-up display mod. You can toggle the heads-up display on and off at will, and this is something you control in the settings. If you're not using the Power Armor heads-up display mod, the only thing it will control is the active effects, the crosshair, and whether or not you can see the sneak meter and the enemy health. You still have control of those. That is completely up to you. This is probably the last version of this mod for some time. I know I've said that a few times, but this is the version of the mod I always wanted to make. It is now as responsive as it's ever going to be. It does everything I need it to do, so this is probably it. It should perform better for everybody. It has some new functionality, and honestly, it feels pretty rock solid. If you are on the PC and you want to know how to set up the toggle keys without using the toggle items using the Fallout 4 hotkey mod, I'm going to make a video briefly showing you how to do that. And if I've already done it by the time you're watching this video, there should be a card appearing on screen somewhere right now that will take you right to that video. If I've not done it, I will try and get it done as fast as possible. So, thank you for watching this. Thank you for trying out the mod. Please feel free to leave any feedback you have, and I will try and fix any issues you might have. I'm hoping there won't be any this time, and I really do think I've added everything everyone has asked for. So, have fun playing with the mod, and I will see you guys next time.